So good afternoon. So long, so well. We have gotten to the point where we start doing the talk or walking the talk. We have gotten to the point where we make our pledges, and it's great for us to have the caliber of people we have and organizations we have who have Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, right. So I was saying that it's great for us to have the caliber of organizations we have presented here to lead on signing the charter so as to encourage other organizations to collaborate in promoting the gender agenda. Here, signing the charter, they'll be signing and making their public declarations about the charter commitments. And then we would also encourage and see how other organizations can partner with us. You know, if we remember what one of the panelists said about the I, the us, and the our, it is time for us to begin to drive these initiatives and these conversations, putting more action to it. And that is what the Gender Charter seeks to promote. So quickly, we would just have call on Mr. Udom.
Want me to remarks?
Chioma? Yes, please. Yes, please.
It's good to be here. Today's signing ceremony, on one hand, speaks to the journey of most of you on this platform and your accomplishments. And I think you should be proud of yourselves. On the other hand, it is a sad reminder of the state of affairs in our country, especially with students unable to stay in school or concentrate on their studies for fear of being taken hostage by bandits. The curve for the girl child was already steep, but now we need to dig ourselves out of the hole. And that in itself must be a daunting task, but we should never, never give up. There is an African proverb that reminds us not to look at where we fell, but rather where we slipped. This is a clarion call for all well-meaning persons to help alter the current trajectory. So let's roll up our sleeves and go to work. As I append my signature to this charter, I commit to playing my part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Udom. Mr. Udom is one of the board of trustees of WIEN. Before we call on the next person, I would just want to quickly read some of the highlights on the charter. So the charter is designed to promote increased joint and coordinated action of multiple stakeholders towards women and girls' inclusion in the energy space. The charter is for all energy players in the African space. The charter is focused on taking action that will make a real difference in accelerating women and girls' inclusion. And signatories are at liberty to choose the best way to meet the charter commitments. We are also looking at reporting on the commitment progress by each signatory. Is not really aimed at being intrusive. So the objective of this charter is not for us to become intrusive and be like a form of regulatory body to organizations, but rather focused on measuring overall progress in improving gender inclusion. So if we're talking about gender inclusion, we want to go beyond talking and start doing what we are talking about. So quickly, we would be hearing from Amina, from Mrs. Amina. Please, let's hear from you what your commitments are. What are you choosing to challenge from this charter?
Thank you, Chioma. And just following up on what Mr. Udom has said, he has very clearly laid the path for the rest of us to follow, given his experience and time in the industry. For me, I mean, there's a long list of commitments to make, but I'm committing to champion the increase in the number of women at the decision-making level within cycles of influence and the general society. The reason I have chosen this commitment is, thankfully, by virtue of where I sit within my organization, at least I have a voice. And I think that the more women we have who are in positions who can fight for other women and pave the way for other women, then we would be able to achieve our aspirations much faster. All over the world, globally, we have seen what happens when women lead. I mean, we've seen write-ups from Forbes, from the Harvard Business School, using the coronavirus as an example, where you have countries that are led by women. So we know what can happen when women are in this position of leadership. And that is my commitment today. As I sign this charter, I do commit to that. And I hope that no matter how little it is, all of us coming together will be able to make that impact that we need, hopefully for the young women coming up to also be able to key into this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Amina. Before we go to Mr. Segun Adaju, I will just read like the first 5 charter commitments. We need to hear this so that we can all reach out and then request for this charter and sign to the charter commitments. So the first charter, we all commit to take and assign responsibility when needed for meeting charter commitments. Signatories to the charter will, 1, strive to promote gender equality and inclusion of women and ensure organizational communications that support gender balance. 2, contribute to gender inclusion in the transition to cleaner and renewable energy in Africa by lending a voice when needed. 3, inspire and sponsor girls to study STEM-related courses, working with academic institutions and regulatory bodies. 4, champion the increase in the number of women at the decision-making level within cycles of influence and the general society. 5, integrate a system that ensures gender disaggregated data in every project and obtain same to inform interventions developed. So these are the first 5 charter commitments. At this point, I would call on Mr. Segun Adaju, who is the president of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. Welcome, Charlotte. So I would call on Mr. Segun, who is the president of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria, to give us to tell us about his commitment and what is inspiring him about signing this charter, and also speak about motivating or charging other organizations to key into signing this charter. Mr. Segun, over to you, please.
I'm afraid Segun is not on the line. Something must have happened. It's off.
Yes, I think we lost him. Okay, Charlotte, you're welcome. Before you came in, we listened to Mr. Udom and Mrs. Amina give their commitments and to signing the charter and talk about why the need for signing the charter. So let's hear from you, Charlotte. After Charlotte speaks, we'll hear from Mr. Udom to encourage and charge other organizations to sign this charter too.
Well,
Charlotte,
thank
please.
you for having us all. We've been juggling from one panel to another, and that's what happens when you're admin for almost all the panels. Of course, I'm very particular about this particular section of the program. For me, it's one of the highlights. From panel 3, I took something from Engineer Tony, and he says, "Go get it, girls." And I think I'll just borrow from there to say, this is a charter that resonates with us. We don't have any choice but to move even faster than the speed of light. Coming from an engineering background, for me, was key to also make sure that the girl child or females are put in line in STEM courses. And of course, as we've grown the ladder, it's also imperative for me now to know that we need to put in a more friendly family policies that would give an advantage to the females. So for me, it's go girls, make sure we get this, and at the same time, forge ahead. He said to us in panel 3, the glass ceiling is already open. And of course, Jessica said with our stilettos, we're hitting the roof, of course. So yes, I'm extremely happy to be on this session. And I think that is the best that we can do for ourselves as females. And like I always say, bring the table along with you. We're not waiting for the table and the chair anymore. We own the table. Yeah. We'll bring it along with our glasses. Thank you, Chioma. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ella. Good to hear from you. Mr. Udom, let's hear from you. How do you charge other organizations and encourage other people and other stakeholders to sign this charter?
Any person, individual or corporate, who does not understand the importance of inclusion and diversity, and especially ensuring that there is a seat at the table for women, must be living in the past. And I don't think we should be having that conversation again. It's been said over and over. This is really time for action. And what really makes me proud is the quality of women that we have in the space, whether it is in the private sector or the public sector, people who are winning on their terms, winning based on hard work, diligence, and integrity. So we need to continue to push that envelope and just be assured that things will pan out very well. What bothers me most is not where we are today with the quality folks that we have in these organizations. That's not what bothers me. What bothers me is really what is going to happen with the next generation. Because just imagine what got you to this space. We're having a conversation with successful women on Zoom, but how many of our girls have been offered an opportunity to have confidence, to imbibe quality education, and to be in a position where they can challenge, whatsoever hurdles, they find on their way. That's really what bothers me. And I think that's the role that we have to play going forward. We need to be very disruptive, very bullish in challenging all institutions, traditional, religious, organizational, that tend to keep the girl child behind, that doesn't offer opportunities for women. We need to be very bullish about that. I'm a brother to 5 sisters, a father to 3 daughters. I've worked on resources, and even on this call, I'm a minority, sitting with quality women. So I understand it. I've lived it. I've encouraged my children not only to aim high, to dismantle the glass ceiling, and I've seen them succeed, just because I've given them that encouragement. So again, we need to walk the talk, get more organizations to understand that it is in their best interest to promote inclusion and diversity, especially when it comes to gender. But also get government to sit up and really invest in the education of the girl child. That is missing today, and if care is not taken, we'll pay a huge price for it.
Very well said, Mr. Udom. It's really time for action, really time for action. We just want to hear from Mrs. Amina, what her thoughts around how workplace policies and structures can, support the gender policy, the gender agenda.
Well, thank you very much. I think when we started this session today, one of the things we heard from our patron was how by providence she got to go to school ordinarily she should have been married at 15. And I think that particularly for where I'm from, which is the North, and she's from the same area, it's a problem when we talk about educating the girl child. And following off what Mr. Udom just talked about, there has to be a deliberate policy that allows or educates parents on why the girl child needs to be educated. Now, I'm bringing the whole gender bias, gender issue back to the workplace. I am not somebody who would say that there has to be a particular role for a woman, because I believe that when we start to make those kinds of comments, we limit what women can achieve or what women can do. We've heard from young ladies who have said they had to ask for a seat on the table because they didn't just wait to get an opportunity thrown at them. In workplaces, there has to be a level playing field. Human resources departments have to have deliberate policies that allows people to compete for positions irrespective of their gender. As long as you think you can do it, you should be allowed to compete for that position. And you do need to have some of those policies in writing. So we've heard people, we heard Engineer Nolly talked about when she was just starting out and how you didn't have toilets for women when you go offshore. Today, those are things that organizations need to think about when preparing your workspace, whether it's offshore, whether it's onshore. Think about what do you need to do to ensure that the female employees are also comfortable and are considered. You need to have policies that protect women employees from harassment, from discrimination, have whistleblowing policies that allows people to report whatever they're facing without feeling like they will be victimized. So from an organizational standpoint, the organizations need to do a lot more, but they have to be deliberate about them to include all of those policies that would enable the women in their organizations feel free, feel comfortable to talk about the issues that they have. If you don't even want to put faces to the name, because I know that because it's something that is new for a lot of women, they may fear reprisal, make it something where you can drop your comments, you know, have a box where you, like how they used to have suggestion box in the old days. Today we have everything online, you know, provide a platform where people can actually go and say, these are the issues that I am faced. Make your organization all inclusive. But it also takes us back to what I said right at the beginning, which is that we need to have a lot more women in decision-making positions. Because as a woman, when I sit in an organization, when I sit on a board and we're talking about issues that affect employees, I am deliberate about how those policies affect women. You know, and one of the things that I would really love to see and hope for coming out of this symposium today is that we're able to kickstart the thought process that enables organizations, individuals to have deliberate policies to change the narrative. I don't believe that there's a glass ceiling. So even when I hear people say shatter the glass ceiling, I'm like, well, is there a ceiling at all? You know, I don't think there's any limit. As long as you believe that you can do it, go for it. If it's not brought to you, go. Take the leap, ask for it. At most, you get a no for an answer, but then you'd ask why. Why am I being told no? And then you go back and prepare and try again, but you should never give up. And I think that it's something that we must be deliberate about as women, as young girls, the men who are supporting us. Mr. Udom has just given us an example of what it means to champion women, to nudge them on. Having sisters, having daughters, we need to engage our fathers, our brothers, our husbands, our bosses, everybody, and just pull everyone on board. So it shouldn't just be restricted to being in an organization. It should just be kind of a way of life to say, I'm going to be deliberate about this. I'm going to be deliberate about creating equal opportunity for everyone so that everybody can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amina. It's a lot you've driven home, making our organizations all inclusive, being deliberate and very practical, because the challenges and the gaps that we have in women representation or inclusion is real. And so if we're not practical with our actions, then we will only just be doing all the talk. We are not asking for mercy seats, have mercy on us. We don't have what it takes. We know we have what it takes. What we're saying as women is give us a fair and an equal ground to participate, to let it be that space where we can come in with our table, and it's not a competition, but just a fair and equal ground, because we also have something to offer. So thank you so much. We'll be listening to Mr. Segun. Mr. Segun, now, can we have you just talk to us about what you're committing to in the charter, what's inspiring you to sign the charter, and how would you encourage other people, other organizations and stakeholders to sign this charter?
All right, thank you so much, and good afternoon to everyone. I hope you can hear me. Yeah. My apologies, some technical hitches. So I should be having my backdrop actually, but it didn't work out. So yes, I have the privilege of being the president of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. And right from inception, we have been very strong on gender mainstreaming in energy access, even in the corporate structure of the association. Let me start from the ESCO, our executive committee. So we have 6-member ESCO, and we have 4 female, including our very energetic executive secretary, Lande. Also, we have a board of advisors, about 13 of us, and 8 out of the 13 are female. Okay. And also we have a board of trustees, and majority are also female. I'm happy to also talk about, I mentioned our own dear Biola, who is also a member of the board of trustees, Biola Alabi. Right, so for us in REAN, and that's why we are coming to this partnership, we are already set to ensure that women are clearly, the interests are well taken care of, both as energy providers. So we have one of the best project developers in Nigeria who are female. We listen to Abiba. Abiba is a very strong member of REAN. We have the likes of Hannah, we have Ashdam, Shalaya, so many of them, female. Then end users also, we are very strong on end users, because we also know energy poverty affects more of women. More women die from indoor air pollution than men. So most men are out there, either hanging out with their friends or watching football matches, and the women are the ones cooking. So basically, we give out very strong commitments that REAN will continue to drive gender mainstreaming in renewable energy, and will continue to lead in that sector to ensure that the interests of women are clearly taken care of. So we choose to challenge basically that women will strongly be part of the renewable energy space in Nigeria across all the value chain, from project development to end use. And we're happy to have to be in this collaboration. So you have our commitment, the commitment of our board, trustees and advisors and executive committee that will always continue to push this agenda for us and for Nigeria, even Africa as a whole. So that's a commitment that we bring to the table. And also we ensure individually in our respective companies, we begin to push, for example, I run a personal company also. We have 2 members of our ESCO, and very soon we're going to have very likely a female managing director. So that's the drive that we're seeing. So I've been on the seat for about 5 years, and I think it's time for me to, also step aside, and a female is taking over from me. So that's the kind of thing we're seeing in the industry. Our female have shown that capacity. If you talk to Habiba, if you talk to Hannah, if you talk to Lande, you will know that they have that capacity, to play at any level in the sector. So that's the commitment we'll continue to bring in. And I say we choose to challenge.
Thank you very much. It's always pleasant and encouraging to see all our he for she just giving out and lending their support and lending their voices. We'll quickly hear from Biola. Let's hear from you. what what aspects of the charter are you committing to? What are your motivation? And how do you take this forward?
Well,
Biola,
thank you
please,
so
over to you.
much. And thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited to be part of this commitment and also to sign up to the charter. I actually have a couple of things which I don't believe we can separate because I think they all feed into each other and they all build on each other. And so the number one thing is gender initiatives. And I think that when you see initiatives like the Supernova Girls being launched today and being announced, it gives you a great sense of actually the real need in encouraging young women to go into STEM and really the expense and the cost. And now that we've identified the problem, we can now start to put a solution. So I am signing up to support and also raise up more of these gender initiatives. The second thing is bridging the C-suite gap, which also, once again, they all feed into each other. I am going to be I'm committed to bridging the gap, which is part of why I joined the Board of Trustees when I was invited. I believe in REAN, I believe in its mission, I believe in its core, and I believe that the future is renewable energy. And I think we need more women on boards that actually push this agenda. So I am also going to go ahead and work more to bridge the C-suite gap. And then the last thing is actually sharing success stories where I feel that I have an advantage as someone that is in media and also in marketing, working to help share stories, showcase stories, and really push the agenda. So these are the three things I'm committing to. Gender initiatives, I'm committing to building C-suite gap and also sharing success stories, because once again, we need people to be represented and to see themselves represented, and we need to share more of those stories. So I'm here, my hand is up, and I'm making that commitment today. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Biola. All right, I'll hand over to Charlotte.
Thank you so much, Biola. Apologies trying to get you in. We're juggling with the technology. That's the word.
We made it happen. That's all that matters. We're all here now.
Yes, Mr. Segun, my apologies, sir. It's trying to juggle you in and this panel. I'm truly sorry, but I'm glad did you say anything? Because I quickly ran out and ran back in. But did everybody say Chioma?
Yes, please.
Yes, I guess, yes, really.
Yes, everyone. Yes.
Sorry, I went to mute. Did we sign the charter?
So they just made their public commitments and.
Awesome. Okay, I'm sure they'll email us the part that they signed so that we can put it up. And okay, yes. Fantastic. Right. Great. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kansa. So I think at this point we would be exiting this. Thank you so much for your help, all of your assistance, and we will come back to you at the time that we need to.
Charlotte, I just wanted to inform everyone who will be interested in signing this charter. Please just send a mail to REAN and to WIEN, and then we will send you the charter commitment. You look through it and then you sign. Easy steps. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Good job.
Thank you.
See you in panel 4. See you in panel 4.
All right.
Sure.